Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the first of hopefully many videos on coffee and chi. I'm Jen. This is Seven over here, who is pointedly ignoring the camera. Alright, I guess I just wanted to kind of get into why I'm starting this channel, and it's mostly honestly for my cousins, my friends, my family. They kind of talked me into doing this, I guess. But as you can see by the title, I want to explain a little bit about why I ended up not moving back to Japan. So in early March of last year, I was supposed to move back to Tokyo. I had a job all lined up over there, and my furry mascot, who is walking away, bye Sev, bye. We're supposed to go back to Japan, and I got to JFK, and I'm not going to get into the details of it, but things pretty much fell apart very quickly. And then I ended up not getting on the plane, and the job I was going to take just vanished into thin air because of it. You know, the more I think about it, at first I was actually really devastated, but the more I think about it, the more I realize I'm actually kind of happy that things went the way they did, because as much as I love Japan, as much as I miss Japan and I really want to be there, I love the people, I love the culture, I love the life that I had there for nearly 11 years, and I was really hoping to just pick up where I left off. I realized this time I would have been absolutely miserable. I was going back to a job that I think in the long term I actually would have hated. It was going to be another suit and tie corporate job, and in case you hadn't noticed, that's definitely not who I am. And yeah, I think 100% I would have been miserable. And you know, unfortunately, I realized looking back, because hindsight is always 20/20, there were a lot of red flags. There were so many red flags. It was like looking at the Soviet Union. From the time I did the interview with the company to literally, you know, as I was getting ready to check in at JFK, I was thinking over and over like, oh, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I going? Maybe something will go wrong. Spoiler alert, something did. But you know, like I was hoping that the universe would kind of just take it out of my hands, and you know, something would go haywire, and I'd be like, oh gosh darn, wouldn't be able to go. Dang, you know, and as luck would have it, that's exactly what happened. But yeah, there were red flags, so I wish I hadn't ignored them. I could have, you know, I had other offers on the table, and yeah, had I taken one of those other offers, maybe I'd be there by now. Had I returned to Japan, I was going to start up a YouTube channel anyway, so my friends and family could keep up with my life there. But here I am in gorgeous sunny LA, which was very weird. I just had my first Christmas in LA, and it was warm. It was like 68 degrees. And that is the strangest thing I've ever experienced. You know, for someone born and raised in New York, it's a very, very strange thing to have a warm Christmas. I did not, I honest to God, I did not even realize that Christmas was coming because the weather didn't change. There was no seasons. It was weird. I was like, oh, it's gonna snow, it's not gonna snow, I don't have to shop now. I've still got months until Christmas. I have 3 weeks. Shoot. Such is my life. But yes, everybody back in New York and some friends around the world that I've made over the years have been asking me to please, you know, get a channel. Seven is, he's over here starting to fall asleep. Seven is, he's getting older, he's getting on in years. He's starting to develop some health problems, and I kind of want to go out and enjoy the time that we have while we have it. So, and taking him on adventures is nothing new. We used to go hiking all the time in New York, and we used to go out and do stuff when we lived in Japan. Oh, he's actually from Japan, but that's a story for another day. I do, however, want to talk a little bit about living and working in Japan and kind of like what my experience was. I was going back to be an ALT, which is an assistant language teacher. If you don't know what that is, there you go. Basically, companies train instructors and teachers and then farm them out to usually elementary, junior high, high schools. This company also apparently farmed out teachers to corporations. So, you know, I could have been working at a high school in like Nihonbashi, or I could have been, you know, doing business English lessons at like, I don't know, like Mitsubishi Heavy Industries or something. you know, jeez, I'm gonna end up breaking this mug with this ring. Okay, let's just take a sip and put it down. This is the coffee and shea. You're permanently glued to my hand. You will always see it here. But yeah, like, I just kind of want to do a little bit of like buyer beware, I guess, to anybody planning on just packing up and moving to Japan, which is exactly what I did in 2004. I had graduated college and I was, you know, like just looking for a job, looking in Manhattan, looking in LA, looking in Miami, and not finding anything. I live with my dad, God help me, and we were like oil and water, gasoline in a match. We just fought constantly, and it was my goal to get out of there. And you know, I got on Hot Jobs back in the day and was like, how far can I go? Clicking around China, no. Oh, but Japan. I've always wanted to go to Japan. I'd always wanted to go to Japan. You know, I grew up on National Geographic and looking at all these beautiful photos. I just wanted to go there. I thought, what better way to do it than to get a job where, you know, they pay you to go to the country you want to visit. Yay! So I apply and I go back and forth to New York City a couple times for interviews, and then I'll never forget the day Kaori called me up and I was like, hi Jennifer, you're hired. How do you feel about a position in Kawasaki? And I said, I feel good about that. I feel good about that. I had no idea where Kawasaki was. Jumped on like on Yahoo. Where is Kawasaki? Oh, it's like 30 minutes outside of Tokyo. Boom, perfect. Yes, please. And 6 months later, I was gone. And I ended up working for an eikaiwa, whose name I'm not gonna mention, but I'll say it starts with an E and ends with on. And it was interesting, I guess is the word. I had really good coworkers. I was lucky with that. I was very lucky with that. I had very good coworkers. I'm still friends with some of them to this day, which is great. So we're talking like what, 15? No, ooh, we just flipped the new year, 16 years later, you know, and I'm still in contact with them, and that's great. Corporate culture though, at least eikaiwa corporate culture, it was not so good. They really don't encourage any kind of free thinking. They don't tolerate dissension among the ranks. And I was constantly sent back to the Hombu for the head office. I was constantly sent back to the Hombu for retraining, or what I like to call reprogramming. God forbid you're a free thinker. Yeah, so that's kind of what it's like across the board. They don't really, as a corporate culture, you know, in the eikaiwa culture, I guess, they don't really value individuality. They want you to be a robot, a super Genki robot, English-speaking robot. You're basically an English-speaking meat puppet, and you need to realize that you are disposable. You're disposable. Like, please don't go in there thinking that you are special. Like, I don't want to crush someone's dream of going to Japan and living there and working there, because it's a wonderful country. It's great. It's an amazing experience. But go with your eyes open. Go with your eyes wide open. Okay? It's not like anime. It's not like the movies. You know, it's very different. It's very grinding. And life in Japan, especially when you're first there and you don't have friends and you only know your coworkers and maybe you don't speak the language at all, it can be very isolating. It can be extremely isolating. I worked there for 2 years, and then I left that job, and then I ended up as a preschool teacher at an international school in Tokyo, and I was there for 8.5 years, and it was great. It was great. You know, it had its ups and downs, like every single other job out there does. No job is perfect. No city is perfect. No country is perfect. Okay, so please don't take this as me ragging on Japan, because that's not my goal. That's not what I'm saying here. But I think, and I'm absolutely 100% guilty of it too. I think people may have an idealized version of Japan in their head, and when they get there, it doesn't quite mesh with reality, and I think a lot of people end up getting like severely let down and end up depressed as a result. I saw a couple people from my training group end up just leaving in under 6 months. They couldn't take it. They couldn't stand the country itself, I guess, or you know, the job. And the job definitely had points where it sucked. It really sucked. That's no lie. Okay, back to red flags with this job. I should have seen them. I should have seen them. Or I think I saw them, but I was just so happy to be returning to Japan that I ignored them. Never ignore the red flags. If you feel something is like, learn to trust your gut. I swear it's gonna save you trouble in the end. Just learn to trust your gut. So, you know, at first I thought I could blame it on like, maybe the intake coordinator, I guess, if that's what you want to call him. I met him on the interview, and even then, like, something clicked with me. I was like, there's something a little about this. But you know, but like an idiot, I pushed my worries aside. I pushed aside that gut feeling, and you know, I just kind of took that little red flag and went, phew, and I ignored it like an idiot. I ignored it. But the more contact I had with this intake coordinator, the more unsure I became of my decision. The emails that he would send me, for example, there was one email he sent asking me where I was planning on living. And I said, well, and I wrote back, I said, oh, I'd really like to live in Seijo Gakuen-mai. It's just my ideal station. It's right there on the Tamagawa, and I had found a really nice apartment complex, and they had townhouses. And I thought, oh God, a townhouse is great because one of my passions is sewing, and I have a huge industrial sewing machine. And this was a 3-bedroom, 2-floor, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, which is like rare. Basically a brand new townhouse in Seijo Gakuen-mai, about 20-minute walk from the station. This was just like everything I'd been looking for. So I said, Seijo Gakuen-mai, like, that's it, I've made up my mind. And he shoots back with, well, we really encourage our teachers to, like, live in like maybe Nishinipori, or which is like at the top of the Yamanote line. Like, it's a couple stops. Well, yeah, it's almost smack in the middle. Well, actually, it would be on this side for you. Almost smack in the middle of the upper part of Tokyo. Look up on a map, Yamanote line, you'll find it. Or then he's telling me like Ota or something. I get like down by Shinagawa, and I'm like, why? The Honbu, the head office was in Shibuya. Why am I gonna be, especially if there are meetings, why am I gonna be all the way north and have to ride all the way down, or like down south by Shinagawa and possibly have to, which is kind of close to Shibuya for meetings, great. But like, he was telling me, oh, well, we might farm you out to like these northern schools or these eastern schools. Or I'm like, why am I gonna stick myself in like some of the most like inconvenient stations when I could just be in Seijo Gakuen-mai, and like less than 15 minutes later on the express, I'm in Shinjuku, and then from there, there's like 24 tracks, I think, at Shinjuku. It is literally the busiest station, not just in Japan, but I think Shinjuku is actually the busiest station in the world. Okay, that's how many people transfer through there every single day. That's how many tracks there are, lines there are. There's trains like literally every 3, 4, 5 minutes, and I'm like, why am I gonna do that? Plus all the places that I always hung out, Shinjuku, Shibuya, Harajuku, Yoyogi, like it was all on that, hold on, east, west, on the western side of Tokyo. So why am I gonna stick myself in an inconvenient place? Yeah, okay, so that, like that was strike one. I'm like, oh, that was strike one. And then, so, I sent that email back, and he's like, well, you should really widen your search and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, if you're gonna tell me where to live, if you're gonna suggest, excuse me, where to live, I've been sick for 3 weeks, hold on. Back to my coffee. If you're gonna suggest where to live, why are you asking me where I want to live in the first place? Right, so there's that. So I sent back my answer, fine, whatever. Then, and this is something that we had discussed discussed, we had already talked about this at the interview. Like, this was nailed down at the interview. And you're telling me this guy didn't like write a note, make a note in my file? I said, hey, okay, I have kind of a unique situation. I'm not a green, fresh out of college, 22, 23-year-old coming over to Japan for the first time. I lived there for like 11 years, about 11 years. I know how to get a cell phone. I know how to do my taxes. I know how to get an apartment. I moved several times when I lived there the first time. So like, this is all old hat for me. I said, but I am bringing my dog with me. I'm bringing him back to Japan. So, you know, I need a little special dispensation on this, and I need to get there a little earlier. And don't worry about the accommodations, initial accommodations. I will take care of that because I need to find a place that is pet friendly, that accepts dogs. So he writes back telling me, and this had all been hammered out at the interview though. I'm like, how many blonde-haired, blue-eyed American women from New York do you have flying in with a Chihuahua that you can't remember me? You can't remember what was said at this interview. Like, cause it was such a unique situation. I'm like, so he writes, hello, you wanna get in here? You wanna talk? Come here. You wanna tell the story? So, oh, he wants to tell the story. Come here. Oh, my boy, come here. Boy. Oh, here he is, okay. So, yeah, you don't wanna tell the story. Okay, yay, he wants to tell us part of the story too. Okay, so I write back and I said, well, you know, we already discussed this and you don't need to provide those initial accommodations with me. He writes back with, well, you know, our coordinator is very busy and doesn't have time to find dog-friendly accommodations for you. And I'm like, daijoubu? Like, are you okay? Are you okay? Seriously, like, hontoni daijoubu? Like, really, are you okay? We already discussed this. I've already told you the plan. I asked him a simple question: what bank account do you use? Now, keep in mind, I was taking about $50,000 in cash, okay, with me to Japan because I wasn't going to be able to do a wire transfer and I needed some startup cash, right? So I was taking 50 grand in cash, in a little bag, in my shoulder bag, literally locked to me. And all I wanted to know was what bank that they preferred to use, because the companies over there, like, they have their bank that they choose to use. And if you furikomi, if you do a wire transfer within that bank, it's free. If you have to furikomi to another bank, last I was there, it was like a 500 yen, like $5, right? Service charge to do a wire transfer to an outside bank, outside account. Okay, cool. All I wanted to know was what bank they use so I could go set up an account with that bank and dump the 50 grand in there, because I didn't want to be carrying around 50 grand or living in the hotel room, not, you know, or like eventually when I got the apartment, I didn't want to leave it. Just, that would be dumb. That is like supreme dumb to leave that amount of cash, to leave that amount of cash lying around. Simple question, what bank do you use? And he sends me back 3 paragraphs of, well, you know, you're not going to be able to get a bank account right away, and blah, 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 blah. You know, you need to get an address first, then a gaijin card, and register with the ward office, and yada, 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 yada. Like, that's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. It's not what I asked. I already know how to get a bank account there. And that's literally not the question I asked. I get 3 paragraphs back to a question I didn't. That's what I said. That's it. That's it exactly. You know, had the guy been Japanese, I think I could have. You saying goodbye? I'm gonna go down? Okay, wanna say bye? Bye, I'll catch you later. Okay, bye. Whee! Oh God, you know, for a tiny dog, he's actually pretty heavy. You know, I think if the guy we're dealing with at this company were Japanese, I would have said, okay, there's something lost in translation, or it's a cultural like snafu, right? Something's not lining up and we're just misunderstanding each other. This guy was from Pennsylvania. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever that we should have been having this kind of miscommunication. There's absolutely no reason why these very basic and straightforward questions that I was asking and answers that I was providing should have been misunderstood, and I received back information that has absolutely nothing to do with the conversation at hand. And I even, I thought maybe I was too close to the situation. I sent the emails to my cousin and her husband, and he's very pragmatic. Thank God, Jim. Thank you, Jim. And even they were like, no, there's something off about this. And I was just praying. I had to go to JFK to the USDA veterinarian's office there to get 7 certified for export, like government certified for export. And I remember driving into JFK just praying something would happen. I was like, well, maybe his paperwork won't come through, and I'll have to call up and say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't get 7 out, and da 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 da. But yeah, it shows me in my gut now that I saw those red flags, I ignored them, and I think had I ended up going, it would have been 100% to my detriment. I think I'd be miserable there. I think I'd be happy to be in the country, but I think I'd want to just walk into the ocean because of the job. So I think in that sense, I'm happy to be here in LA. The weather's great. People are kind of fake, but whatever. Maybe I just haven't met the right people yet. I actually have met a lot of nice people around, very helpful. If I can't be a good example, let me be a glaring warning. Basically what I'm saying is I don't want to ruin people's dreams, and I don't want to crush hopes and everything, but I want people who want to go live and work in Japan to do it with a realistic approach and realistic expectations. Maybe you'll get lucky, like my first job. Maybe you'll go and it's going to be the greatest experience you've ever had, and excuse me, and you're going to have amazing coworkers, and everybody's going to be supportive and understanding. Just kind of prepare yourself in case that doesn't happen. I'm not saying to go over there and be pessimistic, oh, this is gonna suck. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying go with, eyes open. Go with eyes open. Yeah, but anyway, so that's why I ended up not going back to Japan. I'm a little sorry that I'm not there. I miss the country, I really do. I mean, no place is perfect, but I liked it enough. And, I integrated my life enough there that I went on a 1-year contract and I ended up staying there 10.5+ years. So I guess that was something good about it. Made a lot of good friends, had a lot of good experiences. There's so much more that I want to go do, and I'm sure I'm going to be taking trips back and forth, because it's hard to go out and do stuff when you're actually living and working and paying taxes there. That kind of went from, oh, I'm in Japan, to, oh God, I gotta be at work at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, which means I gotta get up at 4:45, and then I gotta fight the Yamanote line and the Saikyo-sen and rush hour. It becomes life. It becomes not the trip. It's not a trip, it's life. So I think from here on out, I'm gonna use this channel to stay in touch with my friends and family and go on as many dog-friendly adventures as I can and do stuff with Seven while we've got the time together. Yeah, if you choose to stick around, if you like Chihuahuas, if you like stuff with dogs, please feel free to subscribe. I know the button's down there somewhere. There, I don't know. But yeah, should be interesting. I've got some videos coming in the next couple of weeks from trips that Seven and I took over the summer back in July. Now you're gonna have to excuse those though, because they weren't meant for an audience. It was just me goofing around on my camera and making videos for private videos for people back in New York, just to be like, hey, I did this today, check it out. So probably not of the best quality, but I figure I'll throw them up in the next couple of weeks, and yeah, we'll go from there. We'll see what comes of it. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any questions about life in Japan, if you have any questions about visiting, please feel free to hit me up. I'm always happy to answer questions. Anything, restaurant recommendations, how to file your taxes. I can pretty much guide you through anything with that. But anyway, thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.